Hi and welcome to Business Belters. In today's episode we're going to be looking at digital selling. So in the olden days, not too long ago, a lot of selling was done face to face, and there's lots of ways to sell. So you can sell through networking, you can sell through pay-per-click, you can sell through telephone marketing, text marketing. There's so many different ways to sell your wares and what you do. But what we've kind of noticed is there's been a bit of a paradigm shift in the sake of everything has went into a digital world. So things like sitting down with someone like a proposal, sitting face to face where you bring your client in, you're in control of the entire environment, what you show the client, what they see, and you can kind of have it as a process. Suddenly that is now done entirely digital, and I thought, what a great time to have a topic like this. It's always been there, but right now it's companies that are embracing this idea of digital selling and technologies and what role that plays that are getting the kind of edge cases. So, they're getting the kind of slightly better performance. So I thought, let's bring that topic into the podcast, let's dissect it, let's get under the skin of it, and then just show best practice of what we're doing and what we're seeing other people doing. Do you want to kick us off, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, COVID and things like that really produced a lot more digital selling. I feel that personally for me, I was at a bit of an advantage because I'd been doing digital selling for a long time, and I'd also previously worked for organisations who are like software companies, and all they did was digital selling because their process would be get on the phone call, and then they would be using software to show the product and do an online demonstration. So you've got your like WebEx products, so they would be using WebEx, go on a WebEx, and they would show the product, and then literally from that they're sending proposals out via emails and things like that, and selling to them. So I had a lot of experience in it, and I was able to kind of utilise a lot of these skills to actually go into the selling world, from the digital selling world, and kick off from there. But I do know that a lot of businesses didn't have that, and a lot of businesses did struggle and they weren't sure about what to do. And I think even just now, I think it's still quite early days. They've been forced into digital selling, but they've now found it's a little bit more productive. They can maybe talk to more people rather than having to go out, meet somebody. For somebody down in Birmingham or Manchester, you go down to meet them. You're spending half the day. They could be through 4 or 5 different calls to sell to people. So it's like massively beneficial, massive kind of time saving to do that. And having a digital agency, I personally like digital selling. I do like it. If I'm honest, I do like seeing the whites of the eyes. I do like taking somebody out. It's great doing that. I enjoy it. That's what it is. Like, I enjoy doing that. But equally, we need to sell. We need to get sales in, and doing that faster makes the business profitability grow faster as well. So digital selling to me is great, and I definitely think the way that the world is going as well, with now that people have been working from home, there's a real kind of push on people wanting to do this work from anywhere world, which I would totally embrace. We've talked about this before, having people working in remote locations all over the world. So I would be kind of open for people to do that. So essentially, like, to do that, you need to do digital selling. But yeah, lots of experience of doing it with lots of different, now we've got Zoom and Teams and all that sort of stuff, but I remember from before, just like WebExes, and actually like just talking to people. Now that you've not got issues with like bandwidth as much anymore, and you can actually like probably have a normal conversation with somebody just as much as you would do. Well, it's a little bit different than what you do from face to face, but there's things that you need to understand if you're doing that, having a right background and not having kids jump about in the background.
Yeah, of course, that stuff. Careering through the back.
Well, I mean, what's your obviously your background in digital selling? And
yeah, so it's an interesting one for me. So I think most people that meet me would assume that I'm kind of digitally centric, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Digital, software background, highly technical, makes sense. Be digital, wouldn't it? Digital agency, digital. But I'm actually not like that. I'm very traditional in the way that I do business and I operate. So I like to shake hands, I like to see people, I like to make a solution with them in the room. I like to kind of use physical props, like I use things like rates cards, proposals, lots of physical sort of like selling tools. I like meetings, I like showing the client that I've took an effort to drive out to the facility, I like seeing like where it is they're based. So I really struggled at the start of the lockdown thinking my superpower had been kind of like taken away in many ways. I bought a book, there's me buying a book, sounds about right, by Jeff Blount. It's wrote Prospecting and a few other good ones.
Oh, is it Fanatical Prospecting?
Yeah, so he wrote that. But he also wrote one called Digital Selling that came out very timely, aptly at the start of the lockdown.
Yeah.
So what I think he'd done is he took sales kind of material he had and he formed it into a book very quickly. Nice wee bit of capitalism, that right time, right book. But it was actually really good.
Yeah.
So he was thinking about it in the sense of how do you present yourself like when you're selling to someone. So if I'm selling to you on Zoom, do I have a branded background? Am I still dressed professionally? Am I unkept, unshaven, crazy hair, not being at hairdressers? You know, you look a bit unkept because there's not the same stigma. Like you would never go to a client with smelly breath. You'd have mints in your car. You would, you know, check your hair. You know, not to the point of paranoia, but if you think about it, they're going to make a snap call impression about is this guy a professional guy or are they kind of, you know, so. So I think that he was kind of talking about how do you present your digital avatar. So like if I'm on Zoom, does it have the branded background? And even if it doesn't, does it have like, so Maven's blue, so it'd have the blue objects, maybe the little owl and stuff like that, like would be in the background. So it's like kind of thinking it's on brand, right? It's professional. But people get quite lazy. There's a stigma about that, like online, where you're kind of okay. Not everybody does it, and I think I'm always interested. I take notes of the ones like, oh, that's quite impressive, or that's quite different. And I mean, I'll just ask you, like, you know, spade's a spade. I'm just going to say, how did you do that with your background? And they're like, and then they'll tell you, and I'll go, right, cool. I'm going to take a note of that. I'm going to do that as well. And I'm quite happy to say, look, I stole this idea off of Mark. Like one of the things in my studio is it's highly personalised. Like I'm trying to build a personalised brand. So when people visit, it would say like Hybrid Anchor welcomes Mark Conley, marketing mavens on my TV, right? And people go, oh, that's so clever. And they say, well, I actually stole that from John Fairgrave, right? Because he's an accountant. So when I went to his office, he'd printed out pretty much the exact same thing. NGM Accountancy welcomes John Loudon from Loudon Design. And he put it in a Polly Pocket, and I thought, that is a genius idea, because it made me feel special, showed me that the person had really taken the effort of it, and then I thought, I just took that idea and cannibalised it into a digital form. But if you think about it, all of those kind of sales techniques are physical sales techniques, so it's using the environment as a sale, rather than looking at the digital tools. So I would probably say I was a bit slower at kind of catching up with that kind of way. Although I use digital tools to onboard leads and things like that, I'd never really used it for the sales process. Whereas now I'm kind of looking at it and I'm thinking, right, networking didn't disappear, it just changed. But I'm not a trade, so I don't need to do local business. I can do business in Dubai, I can do business in Singapore, London, Dublin, whatever. So I can jump on a call, do networking in whatever country I fancy, and start to build up relationships and networks in other places. And I think there's now a greater acceptance to that kind of methodology of like doing a sale where, you know, does it matter that they're based in Manchester and you're based in Glasgow? No. If you get on and you think that's a good fit for me, then you let them do the work. Person doing my content right now, based in Manchester. I'm working with people in Wales, I'm working with people in Dublin, and it doesn't matter. Like it's always been like that for the work getting done, but now the sales are kind of heading that way as well. But I do think that it was really difficult for me to shift because it's not naturally how I don't think you can convey the same energy over a screen. I think you can do a good job of it, but you know, like me in person versus me over a screen, big difference in energy. And I do try, but it is different.
It is, and it's, do you know something that's popped in my head? The weird thing is when you sell to somebody digitally and then you meet them face to face, Because I remember, doing that and then go, right, I'll come down for a case study, and then you actually see the person, and it is so different.
The relationship kind of progresses.
It progresses, but it's almost like you do get a different sort of energy from it, and it's even things like, I thought you were taller.
I think a lot of people think I'm short on Zoom for some reason, so I'm 6'3", but when people meet me in real life, they're like, I thought you were really short. I'm like, I must slouch in my videos, or my camera's too high.
But it is, it's things like that you've got to kind of take into consideration. I think, digital selling, there is a process and there's a way to do it, and it is different to face-to-face selling. And don't get me wrong, I do like face-to-face selling, and I love that idea. I remember coming into your office one time and you get that big screen and the personalisation. I think we've nicked it one time.
Why not? But that's it. Like,
but it was
why not? Like, I stole it, and I'm quite freely admitting.
But it's so good. And I'd done it. It was like I had put it on the TV, and they came in. It was in here actually, and it was like, welcome, and they came in, well, thank you very much. And at the time I'd already found out what their coffee order was.
Yeah,
there you go. So you're a cappuccino, and you're like that, just that personalisation. So now I went into the sale of like, I like this guy, we want to work with this guy. So
it's personal, because I look at it as it's like traditional values will always kind of stand there. So it's like another one, like exactly what you're saying, see the tea and coffee. I was actually thinking about adding that to lead capture forms. So if they're scheduling in a meeting, it would actually say that, like, tea, coffee, green tea, sugar, milk, soy milk, whatever. So it's like you've got it, and it's like, there's your tea for you when you come in. I done it quite a personal strategy in the office, like, was it last night? 2 nights ago. And I was basically like kind of doing these like little red bags. So I done like the kind of like the business builder mugs, but it's hybrid anchor mugs with biscuits and a letter. And it was just like, look, I'm in the unit, and I'd love to I built my business based on helping other business owners, and I'd love to collaborate and see if some of them reach out to me, great. See if they don't reach out to me, who cares? It raised the brand, they've got a free mug, some biscuits out of it. It doesn't damage my brand to do it. That's hard to do online, but I have seen people doing things like, there was one that was really clever, I thought, and if you're a recruitment agency you can steal this, I think, but I thought it was genius. So they actually sent me a box of matchmakers. Right. And I thought, that's a really clever idea for a recruiter. So it's like matchmakers, you know what I mean, like that kind of way. And you're thinking, how clever is that? But then, because of the world we live in, people will use that as like social media content. And they'll say, oh, thanks to Mark for sending me my mug. And so like, not everybody will do it, but lots of people will do it. And it's like, imagine just if people were walking about outside with Market and Maven t-shirts on and hats and all that, and you're kind of thinking, right, what's going on? Right, so even in your own head, you're going, what the hell is a marketing Maven? What's a hybrid? You know what I mean? You ask the questions. And that doesn't really translate massively into digital. It's supported by it. But now what I've kind of found myself doing is, see if I'm doing a proposal with you, I would actually take your spec and write it down in a spreadsheet, and I'd kind of build the quote with you. So kind of similar to if we were talking in person, I'd be writing down, here's what you're looking at. But then I'd share the screen and I'd like show you, like, this is how I built the price. So I'm doing that more and more and more now, but clients are loving it, because they're kind of like, wow, this is really transparent. You're showing me exactly how you built my quote. Where the project management comes in, where the kind of stuff. And they say, so how long would this take to build? And you're like, well, looking at it, it's 67 hours. It's like, what, maybe just under 2 weeks. We'd probably schedule over 2 months, possibly 3, depending on what you want to do, what features you toggle on and off, what do you think? And they're like, yeah, no, that sounds great, let's sign off on it. And then literally all I do is lock the cells and say, right, that row by this row is what they signed off on, and there's like my spec sheet.
And then you send it.
And then I take that, give it to the developers and say, I want all of this stuff broke down with Asana tasks to get the kind of thing built. So I thought the efficiency has been absolutely incredible from that kind of standpoint, and that is working from sales. But to be honest with you, I'd like to see more sales processes that are digital that people are using. Like I've used the kind of funnels and things like that before, and I'm thinking potentially things like webinars and workshops as like a lead in, and then having like kind of basic options, like almost like a decision tree of like a product. I've used video audits for that as well, like try to use products to entice people in with a purely digital product. Then it's establishing that that's how the relationship is going to be done. But there is that in the back of my mind saying I would love to have more physicality back, and it is coming back, but it's probably 50-50 just now, I would say.
Because one of the things that I've done and kind of done in the past, and when kind of COVID hit as well, was it's part of kind of digital selling, but it was like doing an audit. So when people kind of came on, if I was in the meeting, would be face to face. I'd maybe have my computer. Sometimes didn't have my computer, but I'm now kind of going in and going like that. Right, let's investigate things. So what you doing with marketing, or of kind of pre-investigating. Go right, SEO. Right, cool. So let's see what you're ranking for. Oh, I think we're ranking for that. So I'll just jump into the tool that we've got. There you go. There's your rankings. Your page 3, page 4. But on page 4, there's 6,000 people. So if we get that page 1. You're going to get quite a high amount of website visitors, and that's the type of term. Right, great. So what you're doing here? So how are we going to do this? And we're just showing them and giving them recommendations the whole way through it. So they're already getting a snippet of what they would actually be getting.
Here's what you're likely to experience.
Here's what you're like. Here's the value I'm giving you already, and this is just an initial call, an initial audit, so that it gets people to sort of buy in. And you even said it in a couple of podcasts before. It was like somebody phoned you up as a lead. You were straight on, done an audit, got back to them, provided it all. That was all it was in Dubai. It was all via digital, and it was all using.
Well, that's the thing is, see when they're in another country, it's as if the expectation's not even there.
Yeah.
So in tenders, I've actually put into the tender is there an expectation that the meetings are carried out face to face, or in in line with government recommendations, like we suggest that the meetings are done over Zoom. I'm also doing that for my benefit, so I don't need to fly to Dublin or London.
Yeah.
But also, if I'm flying to Dublin or London, I'm going to charge you for it.
Yeah.
If I'm doing the consultancy and it's miles away, I'm going to charge you for it because I need to cover the cost of the flight.
You're not going to get a flight.
Whereas realistically, if you could do it over Zoom, does it really matter?
Yeah.
And some customers are bothered and some are not.
Yeah.
It's like, if you want that, we'll do it, but it's going to get added onto your bill. Not for a prospecting meeting, but same way, I've had people like that where they're saying, look, we really want to go ahead, but we'd like you kind of travel down, and I'm thinking, we've not even done any kind of business yet. And but that's why I think, see, like products like your workshops or a website video audit or something like that, that's like, it's a relatively low cost product, like very low cost in fact. But if they then buy that, it shows commitment there that we're pretty serious about building a relationship with you. And it's like, I've actually done that before where I've drove up to Dundee or drove down to Leicester, and it doesn't come off, and you're like, it actually annoys me in the sense of it's a lot of time wasted, a lot of fuel, a lot of kind of it's quite a disruptive thing to do that. And it's almost like, can we kind of kick a ball and see if we're going to do some business first, and then if we've kind of decided it's pretty much kind of secured, but we like to kind of meet you, then sure, by all means we'll come down and meet you. But I kind of don't want you to do that on tick now, in the sense of, and it's not that it's like a money grubbing thing, it's just the time and money deficit at the start of the relationship is not good. So
do you think that it'd be a good idea or a good tip or technique, if you are doing face-to-face selling, that you even start the route with digital selling? Because
I think so.
You could get that you could build that rapport at the start, or you could
build the rapport,
rather than going all the way.
I use the phone quite a lot. The dreaded phone. It's old school, but it works. I get you've probably seen all these millions of people that tag businesses in onto social media now, and it's kind of like, I just don't even comment anymore. So I don't go on it and say, "Yep, we do that." So if they tag me in, I just phone them. And say, "Hi Mark, how you doing? I was tagged in your post. You may have already selected a web designer, but I just wanted to reach out and see if there's anything we can help you with. Have you selected anyone?" No, yeah, I just put it there. I'm like, yeah, welcome to Facebook, it's just blown up. But I know that a lot of people will not phone that person.
Yeah.
So they'll try and message them, and you're like, it's a slower method. And it's like just me going bang straight into there. It's like a phone call. So unless they've specifically said, I don't want a phone call, I want a private message, or I want a reply or an email, then I'll phone them.
Yeah.
And I kind of find that that surprises a lot of people, because they're like, you are so fast at communicating. Like, I put an email into you an hour ago and you phoned me, and it's like, you want to give me prices there and then. And I was like, look, that's how I like to be dealt with myself. If I ask a guy for a quote, I want a quote. I don't want to, we got, I'll not name the product because it reveals the company, but we bought something for the office, right? And it took them 3 weeks to send somebody out. And then it took probably about 4 weeks, and that's with me chasing to get the numbers, and then it's still not installed now. And you're thinking, so that's best part of like a good couple of months, like 3-4 months to get something from there just to when it's getting installed. And I was at every stage chasing, instant sign off, instant payment, so it's like I knew I wasn't slowing it down. And I'm thinking it's just a rubbish process.
Yeah.
Whereas with me, it's like you could literally have a conversation, have a quote, have a proposal, have the site initiated and have the site like finished inside like 2-3 months, because literally that's the way we build it. And once we hit saturation level, I just say like, look, we can't schedule it in until November. And it's like they go, oh, could we do it early? Well, we could, but I need to hire more resources. So in theory, if I could do this and we knew we were getting a retainer at the back end, I could probably like do something to work it out. But otherwise it'd probably be November. And I'm comfortable with that. If the client just says, that doesn't work for us, that we lose that one, then I'm sorry, but we can't do that.
We can't.
Because I don't want to be that guy that says to you like, no man, we'll get this show you in, man, September, you're fine. September 18th, you're good. And then they're just like, remember back last year you said that and you're going, well, maybe we took on a bit more than we should have taken on. But I just think it's better, to be honest with them. But I think you're right, a blended kind of method, dare I say a hybrid method of like online phone call or Zoom. And I don't think everything needs to be a Zoom, because some people don't want to put their cameras on and do that stuff anyway. But I think anyway you can kind of build or kind of test the relationship out and see, well, where are we actually at? But that's where it's like, see if your process has something that's like a small product. It's like, well, look, surely we could do something like that prior to we kind of travel down, or before we get to there. And I can't be alone in that. There must be other people that are thinking that's super annoying
I've done
to drive down to.
Done it myself.
I went to Dundee, done about 6 interviews for a head of design job, and then literally they wouldn't even have the decency to respond. And you're thinking, mate, it's not massive, but I probably paid a couple £100 to do that interview. Plus the time, if it has any value.
I've done it, and I went down to Doncaster, and it was like an hour, 2 hour meeting, and I've taken up more than half my day, way more than half my day, getting there, and then they don't get back, or there's just, you don't feel that there's a kind of synergy, or they don't fully understand it. Like the guy you told us about in a few podcasts before about a £250 website.
Oh, imagine travelling for that.
Travelling, like
probably put the guy in the ground. I'm not. That's not okay. That is not okay, man. You're getting a bill for the ticket.
What sort of tools that you've used? What's the best tools that you've used for kind of digital selling? For digital selling, so Zoom's a big one. So I think like if you've not invested in a professional Zoom that doesn't time out after 45 minutes, get it sorted. Surprisingly, I still meet businesses that's still an issue. Get that sorted. It's a cheapest chips way of doing it. I like Google Suite, but I think Office 365 would be the same. If you get a cloud-based system, you can do things like document shares. You can do like I use a spreadsheet, because it's just like, look, every business owner generally works with spreadsheets. Here's your spec translated into a spreadsheet with line items that are hours, days, whatever. These are comments, like clarifications, like I've read this, but do you mean that kind of functionality? Like I done that with a client, or sorry, not a client, a prospect a few weeks back, and then I'd say to her like, this was in the spec, and she's like, oh, we've already got that functionality, we were just putting in the spec for background information. So rather than going, oh, well, that's been written terrible, I just kind of went, okay, perfect. Well, that means that, so from here to here then already exists. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. And it says, oh, that's brilliant. So that pulls out like 27 hours of work. And I says, look at that. It's like half the price of the quote. And she's like, oh, that's good. Right. So it's like it makes them show like, I'm not going to bill you for something you've already got. And then we give options, and you say you could do this, you could do that, but it allows us to talk about the product in a quite transparent way. So if you want us doing your marketing, cool. If you want us doing the hosting and this and that, we can kind of work out the price of it and give them options, and then say, I'd like to do that, John, but it's a bit outside our budget. Cool. Do you want to phase it? Do you want to say that these are nice to haves and we'll add them in phase 3? We'll do this for phase 1, this is phase 2. That way you've got like more cash flow sort of management. We do it over 2 months. So it seems to work quite well. So that's Google Docs for the kind of document share. We use a tool called Envision to share the concepts, so it allows them to see the designs, and we can build up prototypes and click through. We also use Adobe XD for that, or Figma, because you can basically present like, here's like a user flow, and for especially with web software, it really brings it to life.
So I'd maybe say to our client, look, we don't build software anymore. So what we do is we charge them for either 2 days or 3 days of consultancy based on how complex it is. And as part of that, we design the wireframe. So it allows me to actually jump on the client, pull out all the information, get the wireframe and bring it to life. So we know what this software is going to be like prior to even touching a line of code. Yeah. So it means I can keep that front of house and digital rather than like this, oh shit, how am I going to, you know, even meeting physically isn't actually better. It's better to see that digitally.
Yeah.
And I've got a bit of a problem on my hands. One of the clients is coming over from Spain and he's going to sit with us and actually go through the designs. But Desiree is obviously in the Philippines, so you're thinking,
how are we going to do that?
Do I bring her into the call digitally? And that's a bit awkward because I'm going to be like kind of shouting at the telly saying like, oh, did you get that, Des? Like, you know, oh yeah, and like she can do a screen share on her TV, but it's kind of like, it's not super close. So I'll maybe even move the TV onto like the table at the end for that specific meeting, so they're there with maybe like a webcam or something. And I'm sure it'll work out. But they're the digital tools I'm using. Try to think of the other ones, like it's more for management of it. But for management of the sale, we've got like our CRM, which is all cloud-based as well. Our invoicing is cloud-based. Proposals are generally sent digitally anyways, PDFs. I've never been one of these guys that print out proposals. I'm like, you know, save the trees, what's the point? I've actually had clients print them. Have you ever had that? Like, I used to have like everything was black, right? So we'd have like the front page would be like hybrid anchor and it would be jet black. And then when I realised people were printing it, I was like, right, I was like white background, just the logo and like, you know, proposal for market mavens or something, because they must be hammering their ink in their printers, you know, like printing out agency proposals, these big bright colourful high graphic kind of things, and I've got stacks of them.
No,
you know,
more printer cartridges, please.
Exactly. So it costs about £300 just to print all the proposals out, and I'm like, no, it's not good. What about you? What kind of tools are you using? Yeah,
pretty much the same. Zoom. I think Zoom's grown so quickly now as well.
It's a great tool.
Zoom's got a marketplace. You see the Zoom marketplace?
I've seen that with the add-ons. I was actually looking at it. Maybe we could write some extensions for it, but I've not had a proper look at the API
cool,
yet.
And there's like so many. So I can use. So now I can even use with teaching like whiteboards and all that sort of stuff that we can actually like do some stuff. So Zoom, I think, was always good. I used to use WebEx in the past, but obviously with the way that Zoom's grown, that's
is that just like a precursor to Zoom, like a kind of like a screen share kind of?
WebEx was like exactly the same as Zoom. It's still going about. It's like GoToMeeting.
Oh, I've seen GoToMeeting.
Yeah, it's like so that was the initial company's name or something like that. So now it's like.
You ever seen the Google one? It's like a TV. I think Grant Cardone's got one. So it's like a TV and you draw on it, but it's digital. Oh, so it's like they cost a fortune. Yeah. So I looked at it for the software house, like the previous company. It was like, I think it's like $3,500 for the telly that's a thing, and $2,500 for the stand. It's like literally wheels with a stand. You know, like you could probably make something like that for $1,000, like custom. But it's cool because you could be in a workshop and doing this, and people could be online watching you drawing it and stuff. And I thought, I do like it, but you're like,
I've seen some videos like that, and I think they're doing it in the iPad and things. But yeah, I do that. Vidyard's another one that I use quite a lot. So I think that's like your kind of InVision. So that's like. If I wanted to show something on screen to like send as a recording, so sometimes what I'll do is like if I'm doing an audit, I'll do it on the Vidyard, I'll record myself, I'll go through the website, I'll show things that's broken and things that I'm working, and then it gives me a nice little link and I send that to them as well. What's really good about that link is it basically tells you if somebody's clicked it and watched it. So if I've sent that to you, I know it's only you I sent it to, and then it's like clicked, it will say like you've had
the views.
You've had 1 view, something like that. John's watched it, but it'll also tell me like how much you've watched it, by what percentage. So if you've like watched it,
do you pay for the analytics, or are you just paying for the storage?
It's free. It's free, and you can, if you start paying for it, you can start making it a little bit nicer and putting your own branding on it and all that sort of stuff, and give your own. It gives you a URL, but it'll give you your own unique URL. And
you've done that, like paid for it to get the market.
I just paid for a smaller one, which was more to do with. because I'm doing these, I wanted a kind of end page, and I wanted it to be kind of branded up. So when it comes to the end page now, it pops up with a call to action and stuff. So they can
get in touch or do
something
something.
and do it.
I'll need to check that out because I'm doing a lot of that on OBS just now. Like
Open
broadcast
with
software.
something. So it's really good.
That's what the streamers use. So it's like if you ever want to know like what all the kind of cool tech is,
Yeah.
look at all the Twitch streamers and all the stuff because they'll find out.
Yeah, it's a really cool tool for digital selling. And then, you know, various of like Google, various tools with LinkedIn and LinkedIn automation tools. But generally, like Zoom's the sort of big one. We're doing that, and I think it's great. Just you show your screen, and then you can jump on. Like everything's cloud software, so we can, you know, throw up a Google sheet, and as you're saying, like sharing in and working out what the pricing is. So like, here's a rate card. These are some of the packages that we would do. But you know, if you're wanting something bespoke, right, we're going to do this. So we're doing a bit of SEO. So it looks like it's going to be like, you know, 5 hours, you know, so we're going to put the 5 hours in, you know, we want social media, so how much social media posts like you want in one a day, right, so we're going to put, right, you know, 2 hours a day, like, and it basically then builds out their full
quote for
you know, quote for you with the price at the bottom, and it's great because there's just this interaction because you can then see them going, what? When I said 5 social media posts, or maybe I'll maybe go down to 3, and that's where you kind of do
compare it back. Or,
and that's
but I think you're building it with them in the sense of like, you know, and you can literally slip in a question there saying like, look, I don't know if you have any kind of budget in mind, or because I would never ask a budget, but I think it's safe when you're kind of discussing the numbers, going, you know, I don't know what the number is, but the person might say, like, the number's $8,000, but actually when they see it, they go, I would probably do 12 for that. You know, if we're getting that in return, I could do 12 because really it's a decision. The 8's a guess, but when they see it, they go, oh, okay, yeah, no, I get it. So it's a $20,000 product, but you can give it for 12 because of the way you've kind of worked it out. Perfect. I will just sign off on the 12, and you're going, oh, brilliant. I thought the ceiling was 8. That's happened more often than not. Brilliant. So now I'm like, yeah, digital selling, it's brilliant.
It's the best.
It's like the best.
So wrapping that up there, then what's your business belter for today?
So business belter for me would be more of a sharing a lesson. So for me, when this first came in and it was all going digital, I was one of those people that were going, I'll wait for things to kind of return to normal. Whereas what I should have done is, market's changed, cool. You know, just by default, cool. What does that mean then? How are people going to do this? How are people going to do that? What is the new ways? And I think if I was constantly asking myself that, like, or even another way, if I started my business today knowing this, how would I be selling? And I think that's a good way of kind of like forcing yourself to kind of go like, just accept it. Doesn't matter what it is, just accept it, and then say, if you started your business today, how would you be selling? Because you would have to think differently. Whereas I'd made that mistake of like, oh, we'll wait for this, but you're like, you can't, if you're still waiting for the .com bubble to come back, you're dead. You're still waiting for, you know, some other kind of event. That's not how technology works. Things move forward, and we're not going back. We're never going back. It's going to be some variant of a hybridization between physical and digital, but digital is going to win out eventually anyway. Like, I dare say that will become the de facto way the business is done, because eventually people are going to work out like, I could live in the Isle of Skye and run my business, so I might just do that.
And it's the younger generations, that's what they want to do.
But that's their expectation, you know. I just want to live in a nice country that's cheap as chips to live in, and the sun and swimming pool outside, and have all the nice toys, but live cheap as chips.
Exactly. And my business belter would be, you know, really embrace the technology. There's lots of technology out there. We've just obviously mentioned some of them, but there's lots more that can actually help you with digital selling. And if you do digital selling right with the right process, it actually can probably, you know, get you more sales rather than when you go to face, where although great that you can have a, you know, nice personal connection, that sometimes it takes a little bit longer. So that's it for me today. Sounds good.
So just wrapping up there then, business belters. Today we've been speaking about digital selling. So really good topic. I'm actually really loving the topics that we're kind of bringing into the podcast now, what we're discussing. If there's something that you specifically want to see discussed here on the podcast, please email us or reach out to us in the comments or a private message. We don't need to name the person it's came from, but if you want to do that, it's a good way of getting promotion for yourself as well. Ask a really prominent sort of question that really kind of blows people's hair back, and you might find yourself featured when we push out the posts and we tag you in. So all it's left to say is subscribe, like, comment, It helps out the channel a lot. There's lots of people out there that want the kind of business advice, they want the kind of help there to progress, just to see what's kind of going on in the market. We enjoy making these shows, but we'll talk to you next week. So it's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from him.
Catch you guys.
Thanks.